Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to our third video of Monday, and this one's going to be going over Shocker. So Shocker, like Sandman, has some really cool rotations and just play styles which just mean for some great amount of damage. One concern I do have very quickly to all of this is damage caps on the weakness section, especially because it points to the vast majority of Shocker's damage comes from one massive devastating punch. While the punch damage can reach terrific digits against most opponents, there are plenty of champions and nodes that cap incoming damage, which is annoying because it can mean if you want to take the champion into Abyss and into Labyrinth, then that means that this champion is kind of stunted, which is kind of annoying. But I don't think that should take away from the fact that this champion is pretty decent. It's pretty decent on several factors, especially when it comes to just being really cool new tech, and it's great that it is a tech-based champion, but also the abilities that play out for this champion for building, rotation, heavy attack holding, similar to the likes of Sandman. Then you're going to have a lot of fun, I think, with this champion. It also is going to be one of those first champions that's going to be entered into the featured, so the next featured, which is slightly annoying for those that want to pick off a Sandman as being that featured that they highlight. So there's a little bit of disappointment there, but let's go over the champion's abilities and also look at the deep dive as well to kind of compare stuff off. Shocker has shock immunity, no shocker there. Unblockable and stun and energize effects. That continuous stun is going to be something that's going to be really cool. We're going to see a bit of that in footage in a minute. Now, we don't get to learn much about the champion when it comes to its tags, so I would assume that when we'll find this out later on, by the time this video comes out, we'll probably know whether or not the champion's hashtag metal, especially from an interactional point of view of using magnets to take down the champion. But if you've got champions that, or parry, it may be a stun effect that is kind of reduced down. I don't 100% know that, but it's something to mention as to if you're thinking of an interaction, taking this champion down by just trying to do a parry in order to build something, maybe a bit of a difficult one. This is quite interesting because I didn't know this when I went through the deep dive, the video that is, that the extended building Vibro-Shocks, which you do use as a sort of currency for damage, is the kind of way I could describe it, but it's much more than that. It looks like the more that you get, the kind of benefits you get as well. Like as it says here, landing or being struck by a light or medium attack grants one indefinite Vibro-Shock charge. Great charges have to be absorbed. And 50 plus Vibro-Shock charges. While dashing forward, Shock is passively unblockable, which is great because that kind of actuates. If you mess up an intercept and say you're a little bit off with your timing, you're still going to be unblockable. So I wonder if that would be, yeah, it's going to be more beneficial for that. Like if the enemy AI kind of drops back and you kind of miss your timing, but you're still going to land. Instead of you doing a hit and instead you're hitting a block, so to speak, you now don't because it's unblockable. So that's good. That's really kind of like effective for the champion. If this dash attack breaks the opponent's block, consume 20 charges. Right, that can be quite good, but I think you want to keep your charges on. Not 100% sure on that. I would say that's kind of bad actually. If Shocker is struck while unblockable, remove 50 Vibro-Shock charges. Oh, so that's kind of like you don't want to do that. So it's like there's punishment for being hit. So you then have to rebuild up your charges again. I think it's easy to build these, but disappointing if they kind of like fall off by the means as what we just said. Oh, and the champion gets auto block at 50 plus Vibro-Shock charges. If Shocker would be struck by a special attack, he consumes 25 charges to auto block the rest of the attack. So this is the thing, like if you not make a mistake, because it's not technically making a mistake. If making a mistake is you being hit. With this particular stance, like, well, you lose some of these charges, and these charges are going to be so important for you to keep on to do the damage in the future. Now, here's where the fun comes in with the champion, and it's removing those prowess effects, which is part of the champion rotation. Like you can see there, prowess removed, and then up there, prowess removed. Handy for the likes of fighting against Bishop and stuff like that, and also putting a stun effect as well. So yeah, like great, effective as anything against those pesky mutant-based champions as well. So that's nice. Here's where it's going to be important to you on rotation. It does seem that this champion requires a very kind of aggressive playstyle, but intercepting aggressive, very different to like Sandman. Well, similar, but not exactly, because you will find yourself like hitting for a certain amount of hits, then dropping back in again, like very kind of quick fire intercepts, which is something of a skill that's like, it's takes some timing. It's all about timing to kind of like get that actually kind of in motion. But As the SP1 says here, 1% chance per Vibro-Shock Charge to inflict a stun debuff for 3 seconds. At 50 Vibro-Shock Charges, this attack is passively unblockable. At the end of the attack, gain 25 Vibro-Shock Charges. Very important again on that rotation, because then you're looking into the SP2 for the next part of the rotation of it. So you may like go SP1, SP1, SP2 maybe, especially because the final hit inflicts a physical vulnerability passive and a stun passive for 5 seconds plus 0.05 seconds per Vibro-Shock Charge. These effects are not affected by the ability actually and removed once the opponent is struck 3 times. So it's all about keeping up that pressure and that rotation. And that pressure and rotation to the enemy can be seen on screen right now. So first of all, you're building close to an SP1, doing a heavy attack, building those Vibro Charges in again very quickly. And then it's a case of then doing an SP2 for that one, because then you're able to go boom, and then you've kind of built up a good amount of those charges. You're pressing the heavy attack down in order to kind of get them out the system, and then boom, one big punch, and then it's out. And that rotation is kind of like pretty much well, key on that for the methodology. You can use an SP3, which we'll talk about in a minute, and again, that's kind of like, right, so you've built up there, you get the energized passive that you get from it, you then do an SP1, you've got 150, or I think, is it 2, or you do SP2, one of those two, and in case, just a really massive, big punch off that SP3. And what was that damage that was done right there? We'll have to kind of like just pause that for a second, just so we kind of like see it. It's coming in now. 323,000 damage. So those are definitely some meaty numbers that you're going to be experiencing if you do that particular rotation on the matter. But again, that's kind of like all about those the vibro shocks playing into that that particular heavy attack rotation, which the heavy attack, which you can see right here, is that a part of all of this is charging a heavy attack consumes Vibro Charges every 0.05 seconds and can be charged until Vibro-Shock Charges are consumed. The final hit gains plus 2,346 attack rating per Vibro-Shock Charge consumed. And do bear in mind, as we saw just then on screen, that was 150. So that's, you know, that's just a meaty amount of damage that you're going to see kind of like smacked out at the enemy, which is, again, fantastic. And this is why it's going to be a very important champion. It's also going to be very important because, problematic, because it's like content-wise, what does that get used on? Will you be using that quite a bit in certain areas? Will you be using this champion solely? Is this another cheat code champion? And that's going to have to be another kind of thing. It's like, will this champion... I don't know if you could say that with Sandman, but well, maybe both champions could be the new cheat code for the new metas. Imagine 7-star versions of these particular champions and the damage potential that they could potentially have in the future. There's a lot of the word potential. But in case you look at what Kabama's saying, especially from this particular point on that ramp up of the SP3. Again, this is going to be down to like the player perspective. Are they SP1 rotating or SP3 rotating? Not always going to be a logical thing for both of them, because it could be some stages you'll only get up to an SP1 based on some sort of node that's on. But, you know, you definitely like to do that SP3, and then, as it says here, turning off all safeties, the special overcharges the Shocker's gauntlets with an energized boost and his combat power rate, while energized Vibro-Shock Charges can exceed their normal max of 100, each 150 instead combined. These let you rapidly loop SP1s to build up your new max power very quickly. Just be careful not to exceed 2 bars of power. Right, okay, so it's SP1 rotations. If I said SP2 rotations, SP2 after, then it's like, no, SP1. But just be careful not to exceed 2 bars of power. Lost when the energize is. They'll remain built up and ready to be consumed in an even more excessive than normal heavy attack, because to Shocker, limits, much like buildings, were made to be broken. Okay, brilliant. And this, we'll just finish off with the signature ability, because that's going to be interesting. Where Sandman's all about, if you have that awakened ability, you're able to do a bit more with damage side of things. What is it going to be about the signature ability? Well, whenever Shocker is stunned or the opponent gains a prowess, gain 3 Vibro-Shock Charges. That really kind of like helps out the ramp up of like ramp up if you parry and then kind of like you ramp up the Vibro-Shock Charges. you know, Shocker's first special attack 1 in each fight costs 100% less power. Again, handy on the ramp up. It means you can ramp up a bit quicker, especially if you're doing SP1 base rotations. But that's something that's going to be, you know, good. Kabam say that Awakening Shocker does wonders for accelerating his ramp, especially when fighting mutants. Each prowess gains, so yeah, handy against mutants. And Shocker can ramp up very quickly in a shorter fights with the cross to an extremely cheap or even free SP1. Since his SP1 gives him 25 of his Vibro-Shock charges, this can really speed up Shocker's critical charge levels. Just be sure to watch for this on defense, and don't be too eager to punish his SP1. You may have dodged one, yes, but what about a second SP1? So that's something to worry about. Similar with Viv Vision. Viv Vision has access to an SP1 very quickly straight after. Sometimes gets me, and I'm like, oh, dude, that's so annoying. But yeah, champion looks good. I think the main thing for me is going to be how you're able to play this champion in more of kind of a, not casual light, but kind of like not as brawlerish, because a lot of the time you'll be going, like you're trying to counter with an SP1 going in and like on the screen right now, but it's a case like you have to be quite aggressive in some capacity for this in order to kind of maximize this quickly. Will this be a case that the SP1 kind of like awaken ability is going to be enough to kind of help you out? It does look incredibly impressive. That's just the thing. Will you SP3 rotate on this? You know, that again is going to be another kind of like question for yourselves. But I think these two champions between Sandman and for Shocker, they're both incredibly impressive and have something completely unique and different about them, which is something this particular time this month I found very impressive, which is good. The synergies wise, there seems to be some stuff on offer that's all right. I just kind of feel like the champion's already kind of made within his kit, like just really darn powerful and fun. In any case, that has been the video. What are your thoughts on Shocker? He does look really darn impressive, especially for the damage potential he has. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the future holds with the champion. Just a bit disappointing that you're not able to take him into some endgame content because of the damage cap side of things. That may kind of ruin rotations and factors. But yeah, something to consider. And yeah, what are your thoughts? Comment section down below. Check out some other content located on screen, and I'll see you all in the next video if there's another one today. If not, tomorrow. See you later. Bye-bye.